You mean there's other people listening to us?
Not anymore.
Okay.
They all just, went to the next one.
they're all listening. No, they're all over listening to the XRM Toolcast now.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. Yeah. And good on them, by the way, because this is all just rubbish.
Okay. Good times. Okay, so
poor people. Thank you for listening and being patient with us. We'll get to the point eventually.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, we will. So what were we talking about? Nordic Summit. Hey, Erika, how are you doing?
I'm good, Nick. How are you?
Cool. And welcome everyone else to another exciting episode of the Power Platform Boost podcast, your timely source of Power Platform news and updates. So
we're back in the studio in the Riverside after spending the whole week together at European Power Platform Conference. It was so good to finally be together in person and to see all the great community friends that we have over there in Dublin, Ireland. And I guess you guys saw the recap that we did every day of the conference. That was really nice. So many great sessions and so many great speakers. The keynote, we already talked about that. So if you want to listen to the recap, we won't talk much about what we, just recap the whole event, not we already did the recaps.
We've already done the recaps, but we are curious to hear what you thought of those recaps. That was a little bit different than our regular every second week podcast with the news and updates. It was really, and what we're hoping to do in other events in the future is do the exact same thing, kind of do a recap of the day, the ones that we're at, or at least one of us are at, and try to help that out. So as participants or people, or if you're interested in going to one of these things, do let us know what you thought of those recaps. We're really curious to hear feedback on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, the rest of the world kept rolling, even though we were busy at the conference. So there were news this week as well, or these couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a super easy episode to record, because it's like, we recorded all this stuff last week. So the whole world should have just Charles Lamanna was in Dublin. Seriously, I just thought nothing else would happen at Microsoft, but because the team is so awesome, they just keep chugging out stuff, and a lot of the other community keeps pushing out stuff as well. So the world keeps turning. So once again, we have quite a few news and updates that we want to go through today.
Yep. Absolutely. And I want to start off with a shout out again to David Wyatt for his Power Automate Pro Dev series. His latest one, the 9th post in a row. I can really see they're coming in. I think that's end of the line. And this time he talks about the direct methodology. Now, he talks about the Christmas tree, the one where you start off at the start and then you suddenly have, 5 or 6 parallel branches at the far end. That's probably what most of us do the first time we do a Power Automate flow. You do have the diamond flow as well. You're kind of reining in at the end. And then you have the direct approach, which is the preferable approach, where he goes through it and how to avoid or how to move more from the Christmas tree and the diamond into the direct approach. Now, I'm from, UX design, and I can see it's a very affordable to create that nested flow. When you start off, it feels like that's the advanced way to go by it. That's, the fancy, big flows feel very advanced and pro. And it feels almost childish or a bit too beginner to do that simple direct flow that David's talking about. But it is the best approach. It is best practice, and he's showing you how to do it. And also something we picked up on from David is the copy and paste in Power Automate. Now, I've seen that. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's a lot of years. It's a couple of years since I saw that the first time. You have the ability within Flow to copy to your clipboard, and it's still a preview feature. And I'm wondering, It's been working for me for a couple of years. What's the preview? And it's not like it's going to break anything. and you're able to use it in another flow, or in the same flow, another place you can copy your action. And actually what she's also showing is that you can copy and paste that to a notepad or anything, and you can actually use that on your local machine and to see what the code does. And on the other way around also, you can copy from your local machine. It will show up in Power Automate. So that's really, really cool. And then of course we'll show the links to these resources in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, a copy paste has been a lifesaver, especially like a lot of the Power Automate stuff I had to do is always send out emails and things like that. And being in Canada, we have to do both French and English. So I would, especially with the PDF converter and the Word templates and everything like that, it's not so easy, but the cut and paste functionality just really speeds things up. But yeah, no, it's great. It's a great series. You can always write better flows, I think. And if I look back at my original flows, they're like, it's like looking at baby pictures. I really don't want to look at them.
If you're not embarrassed by the flow you made a year ago, then you're not having any progress, are you? Right? I just showed the copy and paste functionality to one of my students, and she was like, "Oh, I wish I knew this a week ago," right? Because you have to test and you create a new one, and to copy and paste something outside and inside of a loop. So if you have something inside a loop, then it's dependent upon another flow action, and then you can simply copy it both to your clipboard, and then you can move outside the loop, and then all of a sudden you're able to move it, or it won't move because it's dependent on other data. So yeah, I use it all the time.
And that was another exciting episode of the Power Platform Copy and Paste podcast. So we're totally not copying and pasting some of these other news that are coming along too. What I thought was pretty interesting this week is the direct access to Dataverse actions and Power Effects formulas. And that's a preview, and that was announced. And we talked last time about the ability to write plugins using Power Effects. So this is yet another kind of like boost to productivity from more the maker or the low coder side of not having to write specific code to call these actions, or again, fusion teams where developers can create these custom actions within Dataverse, and now they're accessible to people writing Power Effects. And that's both for bound and unbound actions. We can kind of get into, I think you read the documentation to find out what that means, but that to me is already now with those doing that is just going to be yet another way to accelerate development in building out Power Apps.
Yeah, that's really cool. Another thing that caught my attention this week was Microsoft Sentinel. So, I saw this in Power Platform Weekly, I think. The limited public preview for Sentinel solution for Power Platform. Now, this is a cloud-native security information event and management platform, SCEM, and you use it to collect activity logs and audit and events in Power Platform. It will detect suspicious, malicious, and illegitimate activities. You'll be able to investigate, detect threats with the user context still in place. So you can actually see what the user did when something occurred. And it allows you to respond to incidents manually, automatically, or with predefined workflows. So that is something that is available through a limited public preview, meaning you can sign up and tell Microsoft that I would like to see this pop up in my environment. They would hook you up and install enable that solution in your environment, and then you're good to go to try it out. Now it is preview, so you will encounter bugs and limitations, and the product is not done. But this is for you who really wants to see this in your environment, being able to test it out and give that feedback to the development team within Microsoft.
Great. Yeah, and I see this something like it's adding another set of guardrails to your users to not do, not that they're being malicious all the time. It's like a lot of times users don't know and they'll end up potentially doing something, but also for those malicious actors out there, like unfortunately the internet's not necessarily a cool world. And this to me kind of in a certain respect says, perhaps the Power Platform has truly made it in the world because it's being targeted by people wanting to do malicious things. And here's another layer of protection. So in that respect, hey, look at us, Power Platform. We're important. We're so important that hackers are going to start targeting this. But it's a bit of a warning call to all the makers, developers, and professionals working the Power Platform that this is yet another layer that we're going to have to consider while building our apps to make sure not only it works for our users, that it's secure, keeps our data protected, but also to make them hacker proof as well. So very interesting to keep an eye on this and see how this evolves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then we had some news for the pack CLI commands.
Yeah, they released a bunch of and I use pack CLI quite a bit when I'm building out Power Pages stuff on the developer side. Downloading information to my local machine, of course. It does so much more than the pack. Just that there's so many commands. They've added a whole bunch of new commands, and in the show notes we'll have the link to that blog, because if we could have an episode dedicated to all the new things in pack CLI. But the big one was the ability to create a service principal for continuous integration, continuous development with the Power Platform developer tools. And this to me is a bit of a game changer and addresses, I think, a pretty big gap in terms of security and using authentication and stuff with the pack CLI. So definitely going to, if that's something that's always been sort of bugging you, or you've been working around this, definitely zero in on that and check that out.
Yeah, and it's a lot of good points to be made for when or why you should use the service principal in your Power Automate flows, for instance. It's something, if you're not familiar, you should really look more into, because that's something that I saw a session on the European Power Platform Conference by Sergey, I think, the Flow Doctor. He made a really good point, and I knew that it was a good idea and that was best practice, but I didn't really realize how important it is. So if you're still using a service account, or you're using your own account for developing Power Automates, for instance, then that's really something you need to look into.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I saw something from Mike Hartly. He's
big shout out to Mike.
Great community. Oh, yeah. Such a major contributor to our community, and one of the first people that I really, paid attention to while, starting into this community. And he's talking about accessibility, which is really also close to my heart. He has an undertaking, A to Z of accessibility in Power Platform blog post series. Now, in of itself, that's a huge undertaking. Wow. And he says he has half the blog posts already created. And he's doing this in a collaboration with Ally Project, a community-driven effort to make digital accessibility easier. Now, we will, of course, post links to that blog post series in the show notes. And as he starts to post, so he'll post once a week, every Tuesday, and we'll make sure to highlight those posts as they come throughout the summer and the fall.
Yeah, awesome. Good job, Mike. And looking forward to seeing all those. I know and good on you for taking the challenge to do an A to Z. I know other folks in the community. Megan has done it.
You're allowed to say Megan, yes. Megan stands out.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I try to do a blog every week or two, but I don't commit myself to it because I don't want to disappoint myself more than anybody. But
and he alluded to it in the description as well, is this going to be one of those blog posts that, Mike's never going to finish? I do have the blog post ready already, so I'm going to finish this one, right? Because it's easy to get sucked into that 30-day challenge or the A to Z. And if I try something that hit me hard in the head, if I ever attempt something like that, it's not for me.
Fair enough. Deal. I'll do are you sure? But
please.
Me, I'd probably encourage you to do it. So
yes, I know. So please don't. No, it's massive. I'm so impressed by those in the community that actually do finish an A to Z or a 30-day challenge. I mean, hats off to you. You're just different league.
Yeah. And if you are doing like an A to Z or a 30-day challenge around Power Platform stuff, let us know and we will hold you accountable. by talking about it on the Power Platform
Boost
podcast.
We will not do it, but we'll hold you accountable.
Exactly. Perfect. I love it. This is exactly what we need to do.
That's our part. We'll play that role. No problem.
Perfect. Cool. And then I think the last thing, talk about community. Now this is about a month back, so it's a belated celebration, but still, this is our, I think officially in terms of our 9th episode. We did a launch episode, so it's kind of 10, and then we did the other episodes last week, so this is kind of 13, fake 13. However, our friends over at the XRM Toolcast hit 100 episodes, so so big round of applause and hoopla and noise for Daryl Labar. Scott Duro, Jonas Rapp, and Tanguy Tuzard, who were all involved in making the XRM Toolcast. I know they, with Jonas having some challenges and stuff, Scott sort of stepped in as well. But all of those guys, if you have not listened to the XRM Toolcast, after you've added our podcast to your listen, then add these guys because they talk about a lot of really great stuff around development of tools and things like that. So even if you're a low code or even a no code type maker, there's still so many great tips and things from their podcast. So definitely check that out. And once again, congratulations on hitting that 100 episode milestone.
Yeah, so impressed, and happy that you do that. And the backlog of episode that we have to go through. If you're new to the community, podcasts like that are great just for the backlog of things. You can go back and watch the episodes that are great for learning. So yeah, I always point my students towards those kinds of podcasts. It's great.
Awesome. So we actually, so that was the news. I think we got through our list. And now we want to talk about, so we had an awesome time last week at the European Power Platform Conference. In terms of ones we're involved when coming up, now Scottish Summit, both of us will not be at Scottish Summit, unfortunately, just we can't be at them all. However, I am organizing a panel that was picked. I originally was thinking of going, but then due to other circumstances, I'm not going. However, I'm still organizing a panel about careers in the Power Platform. So putting together my team of Avengers for this, putting the call out. I've talked to a couple people already that are in. So check out that, if you're going to Scottish Summit and you are interested, or you want to even change your career, you're doing one thing in Power Platform, you want to see what other possibilities are, go to that panel and you're going to hear from people that are doing different things. I got someone from Microsoft there. I, hopefully get some independents, some people working for customers, people working for partners, and, just get a good perspective, because this is the great thing about this technology and this community. There are a lot of employment opportunities out there for you. So check that out. But moving on to the next event after that, we're talking about Nordic Summit, where we will be there for Nordic Summit. Yeah. We have a joint session on our top 10 tips on implementing Power Pages. So that's something that we have our presentation all ready to go. We've done our run-throughs already. We have our demos. It's all set to go, right, Ulrika?
Oh yeah, that's so us. On the plane over. Do you know 5 hot tips for Power Pages too? Yeah. I'm gonna do it last minute. No. But the list is already there. I think we could probably do 4 days of that. So I don't think that the content will be any problem. It's gonna put it.
It's gonna be sticking to 45 to 50 minutes or whatever.
Want to meet up on Friday on a pub in Copenhagen and prepare?
You know what? I'd love to, but I'm delivering a pre-day training on Friday.
Oh. Are you though? What is that all about? I've seen all these pre-day trainings, in relation to conferences before, but I've never attended one. Can you tell me what it's all about?
So this is pretty cool. So European Power Platform Conference also had a tutorial day, which, hold on, you did attend the tutorial day at European Power Platform.
I was just joking, just trying to,
sorry, we're talking conversations. Okay.
Have you done this before, by the way, the podcast thing, the segues? Do you know what this is about?
Segues and podcasts? No, not really. Like just pick up things randomly. Podcasts?
No,
We talk.
yes.
You mean there's other people listening to us?
Not anymore.
Okay.
They all just, went to the next one.
they're all listening. No, they're all over listening to the XRM Toolcast now.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. Yeah. And good on them, by the way, because this is all just rubbish.
Okay. Good times. Okay, so
poor people. Thank you for listening and being patient with us. We'll get to the point eventually.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, we will. So what were we talking about? Nordic Summit. Pre-day trainings. Yes. Okay, so what does this mean? So a lot of times with both the community events and the larger paid events, they'll do sometimes a pre or a post day training where it goes beyond just getting a 45-minute to an hour presentation. These usually come at an extra cost, and in this particular case, it's no different. However, the value you get is incredible. So it's usually either half day or full day. There are some instances where it could be multiple days where you sit in an actual classroom and you get this, you can get a much, much deeper dive into a particular set of technologies. And at the Nordic Summit, currently they have 5 pre-day trainings. And the benefit of attending one of these trainings is, first off, a lot of times these are delivered by people that are also doing presentations as part of the conference. And they're either from Microsoft or they're MVPs. They're the same community folks, the same blogs you read, the same YouTube videos you watch, but now they're live in person in front of you, delivering this content in a way they've put together like labs and presentations to help you deep dive, to help you, empower you to become a master on this technology. And so these pre-day trainings are great because chances are you might already be traveling. So what's an extra day or an extra night if you're already going to be spending a few days at a conference or going to an all-day conference? So this is already tacked on. So when you're going to your boss saying, hey, can I go to Nordic Summit? And by the way, if I go a day earlier, I'm also going to be able to really up my game in developing PCF controls because there's someone from the community delivering a class on that. So that really helps you out. Yes, there's an extra expense, but compared to other trainings, if you go to a training center or go to a training partner to get the equivalent of training, it's usually cost a lot more and it's a lot bigger time commitment. This way, it is a little bit fast. It is a boot camp. It's fast and furious. However, the other cool thing, especially in Nordic Summit, there's going to be a very low ratio of students to classes. And I'm not sure what it's like in Norway, but I know for me here in Canada, when I sign up my daughter for swimming, we were always looking for those low ratio classes because we wanted a good one instructor for a minimal amount of students possible. If you're in some of the larger conferences, and it's just logistics, and it's still very good. European Power Platform Conference is an example of this, where there was a lot of people in the room, but still we got through the content. I think people got good value. However, even a better value, in my mind, depending on what your learning style is, at Nordic Summit, from what we understand, there can only be a max of 15 students per instructor. So what that means, when you're going through the labs, if you're stuck, the instructor has a lot more time to help you get over that hump. And you also start to build some good networking connections with the other people that are in the classroom with you. I've seen that as an instructor. I've seen people become fast friends in a training environment like that, helping each other out. And then even after the conference, stay in touch and, help each other out. The cool thing for me too is, as an instructor, I still get LinkedIn messages or emails from students I've had a few years ago. They'll say, hey, Nick, you if you remember me, you taught a Power Platform boot camp in Austria, and I'm now finally working on a project and I'm stuck on this. Can you help me out? And that to me is like, wow, and a lot of times I will remember that person, especially if it's a smaller class, and they'll say, sure, I can help you out or point you in the right direction. And it makes me happy to know that the information that I convey to them and they're using it in their day-to-day work. So in these sessions, for me, I liked, they're a lot of fun as well, especially in your smaller group. You get good conversations going. You have a few laughs like you and I do on this podcast. And then from there, you really, this to me, that 1 day pre-day training that you would get at something like Nordic Summit will be the return on investment in terms of your value to the projects. It will just be so incredible. I'd love to put like an actual monetary value on that, but I'm sure at least 5 to 10 times of the money that you or your company will pay for this training, you're going to get back in terms of productivity and knowledge and efficiencies. And that's a value you can pass on to your customers. You look good, they look good. It helps us look good. So definitely check that out. So let's just quickly, we can go through some of the pre-day trainings that are happening in Nordic Summit, and hopefully and I would say sign up as soon as possible for a couple of reasons. There's still a discount for July, but also once these fill up, then who knows when you have to wait a whole other year, or we're not sure when some of these instructors are going to be delivering something similar again. So so let's just dive in and take a quick look at our list here.
Yeah. So first up, we have, let me just check that I'm in the right place. So Christine, I'm sorry, I'm always getting this a bit off, I think. Christine Kolinitsky. Yeah, she's MVP, right? And she does amazing visual work across Power Platform. Her UI UX skills are just over the top. So she has a tutorial workshop called Become Better at UI UX for Power Platform. And I'm tempted to attend because that is something that I really need to know how to do, because I'm visual and I'm great at this, but still she's next level. It's HTML, it's CSS, it's SVG, it's colors, it's accessibility, it's best practice. It's, if you're into visuals and you're doing Power Platform stuff, you need to know about this girl and what she does. She's amazing. So that's cool. That's one. Yeah. And then on my list, you can talk about this one, can you? The next one on the list?
How about you talk about it? I'm not sure. All right, it seems a bit sketch.
Okay, so yeah, it's a dude from Canada. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He's not really that known. Nick Dolman is his name, and he has a tutorial workshop called Build Powerful Websites with a product not really familiar to me. It's Power Pages. I'm not really sure what that is. No, jokes aside, it's your session on Power Pages and how to do powerful websites using that product. And it will be, from my understanding, the basic one-on-one how to get started, and then going deeper into the more advanced Power Pages development. Am I right?
Absolutely. This is going to be very unique because I even did a Twitter poll that's still running right now. It'll be finished up by the time the podcast is produced, asking people, are you looking more for the bare basics, advanced config, or more the developer stuff or admin stuff? And the developer stuff, the last time I checked, was winning. So not to say that I shouldn't say that you do not have to be a pro developer to take this session, like not at all. However, we are going to cover that very quickly. We're going to go through what normally would sort of be in a day content, get you ramped up. This is Power Pages. This is what it can do. Now, a lot of you have already seen that. You already know how to create pages. You know how to add forms and lists to pages. We will cover that, of course, how to do it securely. But then we're going to take it next level real fast. And we're going to get into the stuff that I think you and I know that people will ask for, what customers will ask for projects in terms of building customized user interfaces, integrating into other systems, and kind of addressing these crazy requests. Or from a customer's perspective, for them, it's not a crazy request. It's like, I'd like the website to be able to do X, Y, Z. And you're thinking, that's a very reasonable request. How the heck am I going to do that? Because I can't do that just with the regular configuration. So this is going to dive into be able to take your Power Pages to the next level. Yet, like I said, if you're walking in fresh without that knowledge, we'll get you there real fast. But then if you have a bit of knowledge already, we're going to kind of take that and get you there. So by the end of the day, you're going to be able to build not just a Power Pages site, but build a powerful Power Pages site.
Wow.
So
So have you set any level on this? Because, level 100 on sessions, that's really basic, isn't it? That's for beginner, no prerequisites, nothing. And then 500 would be, sessions that you would go get benefit from, right?
Right.
If that's the scale, what level is this on?
I would say this is a 300 to 400 level session.
Yeah.
Don't let that discourage you based on your skills, because the cool thing, because it is going to be such a small group, we'll be able to collaborate. Everybody's learning. We'll be able to collaborate. We'll be able to learn from each other. So if you're very strong at more your low code, more maker style stuff within that group, we are going to get you to the next level. And it's not to say that you're going to be going out of there writing Portal Web API information. What you will be able to do is be aware of what can be done and work better with your own Fusion developers as well.
Yeah, and a hot tip from me is, if you are looking into these and you see that one is, for instance, 400, and you think, oh, I'm just 200, I don't think this is for me, go there, because it's better to go somewhere that actually, pushes you a bit further and have you a bit out of your comfort zone than to go to something that it plays within the box that you already know. So you want to be, learning something new and getting outside of your comfort zone. Go to something that's deeper than would you actually level is. And also from experience, I know that even if you see that something is 300, chances are it's going to be more 200 than 300, just because the instructor will always have to make sure that everyone's on the same page, everyone is following, and we'll start off at level 100 and gradually walk into the 200s and 300s, 100 levels. So just a tip from me.
Yeah. So another one that's happening at Nordic Summit, end-to-end Power BI for the Power Platform by Laura Graham Brown. This would be something I would actually, if I wasn't teaching a class, I'd probably be interested in this, because I can do I'm lower than level 100 in Power BI, and I want to be eventually level 3 to 400. So this would be something I would be really keen to dive into. So if you want to up your Power BI game, check out that session by Laura Graham Brown.
Yeah. And another point to be made about these also, because they're hands-on labs, and you can see it in the description as well, what you will actually be doing throughout the workshop. And that is something, if you create that in your own developer environment, you can bring that back to your colleagues. And then you can have an internal show and tell of look at what I created during Nordic Summit. And maybe if you ask the instructor, you're allowed to bring up some of the labs and show your colleagues what you actually did, and be a part of that upskilling for your whole your colleagues and everyone else. And of course, if you learn how to do something in your own environment, you can create Power BI reports for your own environment. So that's really, really powerful. And next one, Diana Birkenbach, great fan. She's a really, really hardcore developer. She does how become a powerful PCF developer session, workshop.
I'm almost tempted to cancel mine just so I could attend hers. Because right. I think I mentioned last week, this is something I want to learn how to do, build PCF controls, build code components. And just when I saw that, oh yeah, I'm going to go. Oh, I can't because I already have a session. So yeah, definitely. That is one I would be willing to bet is probably going to be one of the most popular ones out of the group. It says ready to get your hands dirty. That's always a good sign. You'll be able to create stuff. And they'll also look into ALM and the magic behind PCF versioning. It sounds like a really hands-on, productive lab experience. And just to get FaceTime with Diana, it's a connection that you will treasure for life. So I really highly, highly recommend that. And I may ditch you for Diana's session. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll give you a recap at the end, because that is something I'm really itching to do as well. Oh, you're abandoning me.
And then talking about superstars.
Holy cow.
Yes, exactly, right?
The dynamic duo from down under. My buddy George Dubinsky.
Maybe, Diana, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe this is what I'll go to for the entertainment. It's going to be better than any, comedy show, I guess.
Yeah.
I
So,
hope.
yeah. So George Dubinsky, Amy Holden. So I've delivered training with George before, and it is a ride for sure. It is so good. George is and George is also not very shy. So if you're doing something or he doesn't agree with, he's more than happy to tell you
Oh, fantastic. We
about
will
it.
go very good
And
together, I think.
yeah, and you know what? Just from a fanboy point of view, I've talked to Amy Holden, but I've never met her in person. So she's sort of somebody is sort of like, Ms. Holden, can I get your autograph, please? Like that's going to be me.
Can we have a selfie, please?
Yeah, can we get a? Oh no, I can't ask her for a selfie. I'm too shy for that. So.
All right, but their workshop is a
Oh yeah,
collaboration, and they're doing Power Automate Beyond the Basics. And so if you're doing Power Automate, and you know what? To be fair, I've done Power Automates for a while, and I really like it. It's not with Canvas apps; is new to me every time I open it up. Power Automate, I love. Every chance that I get, I'll use Power Automate. I keep learning, 5 years in or something, how much bad stuff I've done and so many mistakes and so many bad practices that I've done over the years. If you get a chance to get beyond the basics while you're still learning, so you don't do those mistakes, you need to take that chance. And this is really something you should invest in, because that's never going out of date. And this is it.
yeah. So that being said, so there's the go to your boss, look at your own budget. Like if you're going to first off, go to Nordic Summit. I mean, and we'll maybe talk next episode about the sessions that will be at Nordic Summit, like the regular Saturday sessions. But just for the pre-day training, like just do it now, because it's like an amazing discount. And this is going to be, if you're only going to go to one training class this year, these are the sessions to go to, in my mind, hands down.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you're in Europe, and Copenhagen is so beautiful in September, and it's going to be, so last year it was Stockholm, was 400 attendees. So it's very intimate. So even if you're not going to the P-Day training, because we went from Orlando, Microsoft Power Platform Conference, directly to Nordic Summit last year. And it was such a different vibe. And I got connected with people in a different way. And, my choice, I love the big conferences. We just came from one. But one with 400 attendees, that's something else. That's where you connect. That's where, you see the superstars, passing you or waiting in the coffee line, and you'll be able to chat. And it's, it's connecting with the community in a totally different way. This is a free event. I think there's a no-show fee. It's, companies, partners last year brought whole teams. I think I saw a company bringing 14, and a whole developer team just went there as a team excursion type kind of thing. And I really recommend you do that.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So yeah, you're going to hear more about Nordic Summit in the weeks to come here in the Power Platform Boost podcast. And of course, there is a discount, Boost 40 for the discount. There's other discount, some SOME 40 as well, I believe. Anyways,
Boost is ours, so use ours.
Okay, use ours. Yeah.
It's not anything in it for us, but it's just, we want them to know that you heard it here. So
perfect.
Use ours. Boost
cool.
40.
So yeah.
Okay, people. And we're not getting any, I just want to say, because that's what influencers do these days. We don't get any money. We don't get paid to tell you all about this. This is just from our hearts. We love Nordic Summit, and we think it's a great event, and we would, encourage you to go. So don't think this is not advertising or anything. This is just from the bottom of our hearts. This is really an event that's worth going to. So that's our personal opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're getting no kickbacks or anything from this for just the people. We know the people that are organizing it. We have been to the event last year, and of course even the Saturday events that this crew was put on before, and they work very hard. It's probably one of the hardest working community events people that I've seen. So definitely, and it's worthwhile. The content's amazing. However, looking for support, talking about segues, if you do want to support the podcast and support us, what better way than go to buymeacoffee.com/powerplatboost and buy us a coffee or a beer. And we'll take that money and we use that to pay for the various subscriptions and services that we use to deliver this podcast to you every 2 weeks. So would greatly appreciate if you did that. And already thanks to those who have already done that as well. Plus doing reviews and feedback and just shooting us an email, or even like some of the comments we've gotten on YouTube and LinkedIn of how these podcasts has helped or gives people the information they need. We absolutely really love that. And again, thanks to the folks last week at European Power Platform Conference that told us in person how they like the podcast, and that we love that feedback. And if there's something that that you think, we don't quite like, or this was a little bumpy, or, maybe rethink this or whatever, we'll take that feedback as well.
It's too long, for instance. It should be 20 to 30 minutes. That's also, you're allowed to say, because
it should be every week and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And also what, surprised me a little this week was that there's still a lot of people in the community that don't know about this podcast. And that is because we can't reach everyone. So we're dependent on you. If you like what you're hearing and you think it would benefit someone else in the community, please, comment on the social media posts that we do, share it with colleagues and other people that you know from the community. It really helps and it makes a difference. And rate, subscribe, and share. That's it's really helpful. I really appreciate you doing all that. So thank you for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your host Ulrika Ackerbeck and Nick Dolman. And we will see you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news.
And our next episode will be on July 12th.